When I look back on what I saw back there in that small town, all I feel is numb. What else can you feel in the face of such horror? The case I'm about to present before you is disturbing. It is not a pleasant story, and certainly not for those with a weak heart or stomach. But it's a story that needs to be told. It all began in the woods surrounding a small town about a month ago. It was in these woods the first victim was found, a man by the name of Tom Grady. His body was found without clothes, and his face had been taken off. The police's main suspicions were on a crazy substance-fueled psycho of some sort, or maybe just a regular substance-induced run through the woods without clothes, ending in a meeting with a vicious bear. It was extraordinary, but simple when you looked at it. That was until they checked his stomach contents. The coroner, a solid man by any standard, had to get out of the room to vomit into a trash can. They found Tom Grady's face in his stomach. The main theory shifted again. The man was on some sort of substance, crazy beyond control, and did what people do in those situations. That one lasted as long as a month before the forensic report came back, because the man was as clean as a teddy bear. So perhaps Tom Grady was just crazy then, because it couldn't be anything else. But then it happened again. 2 bodies together in the woods, a man and a woman, no clothes, their faces skinned. At least this time the coroner didn't vomit when he pulled out their half-digested faces from their digestive tracts. Nor were there any theories for the negative test results to dash, only blind confusion. It happened again though. This time a kid 15, also not wearing clothes and found in the woods. And again, even younger, 13. And it kept on happening every couple of days. A new victim in the woods. A figure started forming when the local newspaper printed the first sighting of the Skin Man. An old photo, black and white, with just one small caption: "Taken in the woods." It was poorly lit, showing a figure among the trees. At first glance, he appeared to be without clothes as well. His head was blank. But then, as your eyes adjusted, you could see it clearer. From neck down, his whole body's skin was face after face, all stitched together to form a humanoid clothing. From this, a legend began to grow. The Skin Man was a demonic spirit that lived in the woods, that lured people into the woods and made them skin themselves. The whole thing was horrific, nasty, and none of my business. I wouldn't have bothered with these urban legends and skinnings at all. At least until I got a phone call from an old college friend, John. The Skin Man had taken his 8-year-old son. I was on the extremely shady side of the PI business. None of my friends ever wanted me to work for them, even if I offered, so I knew he was calling me out of sheer desperation. I arrived in town the day after. His household had held up incredibly well after the passing. His wife sought comfort from a support group on social media. Tom Grady had been an active member of that group, so the whole community was mourning together. John had a friend on the police force. the coroner who performed the autopsy. He was how I got the vomit story. Great guy. Together, the coroner and I made a promise to John. I would do anything and everything in my power to find out what was happening, legal or not. The coroner would try as much as he could to point his colleagues in the direction I'd give them. Then we swore an oath in his son's bedroom. It took me about 3 months to scrounge everything I needed. At the end of it, I called John and his police friend over. I was surprised to see the coroner arrive first, while John was late by an entire hour. Sorry I was late. I was with my wife trying to find her phone. She lost it I waved it by. We'll talk about it later, I said. I solved this. I motioned them to follow me. I led them to my living room where I had set up my projector. I want you to know one thing. None of this is legally enforceable in a court. The only thing you'll get out of watching this is that you'll know now what exactly is happening in this town. I saw no rejection in their eyes, only grim acceptance, so I turned on the projector. On the screen, there was shown a young girl in a bedroom lying on a bed. The lights were off, and the only illumination came from a window peering outside. John twitched. That's my neighbor's daughter. Yes, I stole this tape from her parents. He had a disgusted look on his face and moved as if to block the projector, but I pointed to the screen. Look at that window. The light from her window came from another window. It was coming from a lamp shining in someone's bedroom. John stepped back as recognition clicked in his head. It was his son's bedroom, the very night he had disappeared. He was right there, lying in his bed. Through the girl's window, we could see everything. For a few minutes, we sat together in silence, watching the child as the moment of reckoning drew near. Then we heard a loud, screeching noise. It was hard to make out what it was due to heavy distortion. For a few seconds afterward, nothing happened. Then, the bedroom door lock turned and opened, revealing a silhouette of a humanoid figure standing in the hallway. It marched forward to his son's bed, hands reaching for him. It crossed over the lamplight, and I heard a gasp from beside me as the face of John's wife emerged from the darkness. As we watched, she grabbed her son's shoulders and shook him awake. She whispered something into his ear and took him in her arms. As she carried him down the stairs, the screeching noise started again, still distorted, but now clear enough to be identified as the sound of a car revving up. I paused the tape. John was frozen, just staring blankly at the screen. Good. Frozen was how I needed him. Otherwise, he might have punched me for what I did next. I took out a phone, John's wife's phone. I told you I was shady. As I punched in her password and accessed her group on social media, I pulled up her messages, then connected it to the projector and cast it on the screen. And then the real story started. The story of a cancer that had been growing in this closed town. The cancer that had hid under the skin of a support group. The chat showed the slow degradation of the group into a cult. Not a cult. A cult takes passion. What these people had was intense apathy to human life. Originally, the purpose of the parent support group had been to be just that, a place for parents to vent and be comforted. Over the course of several months, the support had been becoming more and more derailed. More posts started showing up about how ungrateful their kids were, how much of their lives the parents had to give up to raise them, how the kids were forming gangs. They couldn't have raised such brats, could they? Slowly, a growing belief was starting to spread among the members that their children were cursed, born evil. It was then that the Skin Man was really born. It was Sean Theron who dug up the old tale. The Skin Man was an ominous figure from an old wives' tale. A dark influencer who wanted discord and whispered dark things to children, corrupts them until their souls ran black, and then led them to skin their parents alive. Maybe it was supposed to be a joke at first. Oh, the Skin Man. He was the real reason the town's kids were so rotten. Oh, the Skin Man. What other sensible reason was there? None. It was the only reasonable explanation. People began talking about how they often thought their children would spend too much time talking to themselves in their rooms, how they thought they may have heard someone talking back, how the children seemed awfully fond of the woods. And then one day, it stopped being a joke anymore. A tale from the city came of a boy who'd taken his father's life. The group was aflame. How could they stand by and watch this dark figure destroy their world? How could no one else do anything when the evidence was so strong, when it was all so obvious? The Skin Man was doing it. They had to do something, and it had to be outside of the system, because the Skin Man might have gotten to everyone else. Tom Grady, an ardent supporter of the original purpose of the group, was going to shut the whole thing down. He offered a desperate plea to the mob, asking them to come to their senses. But that did not go down well with them. After all, if you couldn't see that Skin Man had to be stopped, you were either getting in the way, or worse, actively supporting him. Once again, it was Sean Theron who started it. He privately messaged to everyone in the group, begging them to take action against this dark figure that was ruining their lives. Tom was practically a follower of the Skin Man by opposing the group. It was kill or be killed. So they grabbed him. He was their first victim, their experiment to finalize their method. But the stomach. Once you dismiss the impossible, only the possible, no matter how horrific it may be, remains. Tom was force-fed his own skin. The group was ecstatic. Celebration all around. True justice. Justice the system wouldn't understand. Victory against the Skin Man. And John's wife sent more than a few flirty messages to the hero, Sean. From there, the horrific crusade continued. Parents were given the duty of purifying their children. And so they did. Their children weren't really their children. They were demons sent by that cursed figure. Demons that had eaten their real children and would soon come to torture them. It was self-defense against a greater evil. Vengeance against the Skin Man. And that was that. John had dropped to the floor now, kneeling, his eyes still staring away at nothing. We helped him to his feet and accompanied him to his home. That's where we left him, sitting in silence in his living room. From that day on, the very structure of the investigation changed. Instead of searching for a single suspect, the focus turned on the parents. The results came rushing in. Dozens arrested in the first week. John's wife was one of the first. It should have been the biggest story of our time, but it isn't. The story hasn't spread at all. Sean Theron was the editor of the newspaper. There was absolutely nothing found against him, not even on the Grady case. I don't know how that guy was so freaking clean, but he's still free now. Free to run his pen all over the morning news. All the people of this lonely little town know is that the skeptics and the pig-headed police were just arresting ordinary people for the crimes of the dreaded Skin Man. His daughter hasn't disappeared yet. Despite my very presence there putting me at risk, I managed to get a message through to his wife. Recently, the newspapers have turned against her, calling her a liar. I hope to God she gets custody. A heavy fear hangs on me that I won't be able to enter that town again. John's been at the police station protesting day and night for his wife's innocence. He's talking about possession and shapeshifting. He still believes in the Skin Man. Recently, not 1 hour ago, I got a text from my police friend. It was about John's wife. She's now saying that the Skin Man made her do it. I just got a private message from, well, someone important. It read, "This is all exaggeration. You just take the facts and twist them. I've already contacted the mods here. You're hurting other people. Your skepticism is helping the Skin Man grow. I've seen the Skin Man in my dreams. I've seen him dance in the woods with his demon children, singing the black songs."